Hello everyone, it's James from Square Internet here with another WordPress tutorial. In this video I'm going to be showing you how you can make pop-ups for your website using Elementor and Elementor Pro. You'll need a copy of Elementor Pro to follow along to the video. If you haven't got one yet, there's a link in the description you can use to purchase, and if you do use that link I'll receive a small affiliate commission which helps support me in making these videos, so that would be great if you do. Anyway, let's carry on with the video. So pop-ups, just like forms, are a big headache usually when it comes to websites. Even working with WordPress, traditionally they've been a pain, involving third-party plugins, custom code. Probably need a developer to help you figure out some of the bits. Just like they did with forms though, Elementor had a look at how pop-ups are working in general and they decided to make them easy, like they do with everything. So I'm going to show you throughout the video how easy it is to make pop-ups. We're going to be looking at templates, how you can make your own pop-up briefly, and then we'll look at the different things you can do with the pop-ups, like the display conditions, triggers, and stuff like that. But anyway, let's dive right into the video now and get started. So to start working with pop-ups, you want to be logged into WordPress, and then from the WordPress dashboard you want to look for templates, and under templates you have pop-ups. I'm using the latest version of WordPress as of the date of this video, which is the 13th of the 5th 2021. So if you don't see this for any reason, try upgrading the Elementor plugin first of all. As always though, before you make any plugin updates, even Elementor, fully back up your website just in case something goes wrong. Anyway though, let's get going. So we're in pop-ups, I've clicked on that already, and we're going to click on add new to create a new pop-up, and I'm just going to call this pop-up for now, and we're going to click on create template, and we're going to see the screen where we can start selecting some pop-up templates. So there's a library of pop-up templates, as there are with most things in Elementor. So we can look through this list and you could select a template that was appropriate for kind of what you were looking to do. So there's lots of different templates, as you can see, that will suit various different purposes, from login forms through to kind of stuff that's more appropriate for e-commerce websites, like a sale on, get a discount there. We've got, newsletter sign up type stuff, subscribe to the mailing list. Another kind of e-commerce based pop-up, 10% off. Let's just have a look what else we've got. This is kind of a more like a business to business type form that looks like it's positioned on the bottom right of the page, where I assume it would be a sticky form where you could capture some details, maybe for lead generation, something like that. Then we've got sticky pop-ups in the templates, so stuff that will, oh, that's not loading, just let's try this one. Oh no, it was loading, it was just stuck to the bottom of the screen. So yeah, so stuff that's stuck to the bottom of the screen using Elementor's motion effects, where you can have sticky elements, which is pretty cool. I always thought that when they were done well, sticky stuff like that is really cool and can be quite effective. So you could have a sticky pop-up appear on the bottom of your website to prompt users to sign up to a mail list, for example. You can set all sorts of different conditions as well to determine when it appears, when it disappears, so on and so forth. Just having a look through all the sort of stuff you can do. So this is kind of like a timed sale. Again, that might be quite good for e-commerce. But as you can see, there's a really big library of stuff you can start with there. So, make sure you look through the library, because there may be something that you think is almost perfect for you that you could import, and then with Elementor it's easy to edit everything visually. You could maybe change some of the color scheme to make it suit your needs. But for now I'm going to just start picking a couple of templates and working through them so you can see how they work, and I'm going to use some of the most common use cases in the video so that hopefully it's as useful as possible to as wide an audience as possible. So I think the first thing I'll do is I'll pick a sticky template because they seem to be quite popular. A sticky one with a form. Where's a sticky form? I had it a minute ago. I think it's a bit further up here. Okay, yeah, there. So let's start with this template. I've just clicked on insert and it's loaded the pop-up template onto the page with the Elementor editor open. So let's walk through kind of what we're looking at here and get to understand how the pop-ups work. So at the moment I've got edit section open. So the section being the blue outline which contains everything in the pop-up. So within this section I have some options in layout, style, advanced, but I'm going to show you something that confuses a lot of people at the outset of the video, and that's how to actually edit the pop-up as a whole, because this is just the section, but we're working with a pop-up in Elementor. So if you click on settings, you'll see pop-up settings as opposed to section settings. So that's what we want to be looking at to start with. So you can do that just by clicking on settings whenever you're editing a pop-up. If you find yourself, if you can't get back to the overall pop-up settings, then just click on settings and it will take you back to the settings for the actual pop-up. Because even though we can't see it, this section is contained within a pop-up widget element. So let's start with the first tab here, which is the settings. So this is where we've kind of got the layout and the positioning and the sort of general overall settings to work with. Let's have a look at some of them. So width is kind of self-explanatory, how wide the pop-up is, and by default it's been set to a width of 642 pixels, which looks pretty good. But if you did want to change that, it's just as simple as increasing or decreasing the value. You could even use the toggle button here to do it like so. As the width is increasing, the size of the pop-up is increasing as well, probably due to the way it's been designed. So I'm just going to put that back down to where it was. Height set to custom at the moment, so they've set a custom height of 385. I guess if we increase the height, the width will increase. Oh no. Okay, so I'm just going to leave the height alone for now, but that's how you would increase the height of the pop-up. Just going to toggle that back so you can see the exit button there. So there's how you can play around with the width and the height. And as always within Elementor, there are responsive options for most things. So desktop icon, if you click on that, you'll have the option to change the width or the height on mobile devices. Content position is determining where this sticky pop-up is set to. I mean, this has already been designed and everything done for you, so I probably wouldn't try and move it from the bottom because it won't look that great. But it's not really at the top of the screen, but you can sort of change where it's positioned to have it sort of hanging out the middle somewhere. That might be useful on different pop-ups, but for the sticky pop-up, I would just leave that as it is. In terms of the position, you could maybe tie that to the right hand side of the screen though. Just see if I click preview if that will so in terms of the position of the pop-up, we've got horizontal and vertical positioning here. That doesn't work so well, changing the vertical positioning, but we have the option of changing the position of the sticky pop-up. Oh, go away. What have I done? Vertical, back on bottom, center. Go back to preview. Okay, there we go. So yeah, I mean, it looks quite good in the middle of the screen. It also looks good on the left or the right, so you may want to change where it sits. Entrance animation is I was going to say important. I wouldn't say it's hugely important, but it's quite a cool thing to play around with when it comes to your pop-up, because you can determine, you know, how the pop-up appears on the screen. So if I just refresh the page, you see the pop-up kind of slides in. So the entrance animation is set to slide in up. So it slides in from the bottom of the screen up to where it's positioned, which is quite cool. There are a load of different options here that you can play around with. Let's see what the rubber band animation looks like. Yeah, that's quite cool as well. So this could be useful if you want to achieve a unique type effect with your pop-ups. So feel free to play around with this option. There's quite a few options there. Or if you don't want animation, just set it to none. And then there'll be no animation. The pop-up will just appear. Just refresh the page a minute. So it just appears. Like so. It's just there. Exit animation, I assume to be triggered whenever you are finished with the pop-up. So there are options for what happens after you've submitted the pop-up. So you can, for example, say close the pop-up when you submitted the form. So in the same way that you can control the animation for when the form arrives, you can control the animation for when the form leaves. And once again, you can have different animations for on desktop or on mobile devices. So we might want to zoom in on desktop, but we might not want to have anything on mobile. I'm not 100% sure that all of these things are supported on mobile. But whichever the case, you can have different animations on desktop or mobile or tablet as well. Animation duration, so how long for the animation to complete from start to finish, I guess. Let's increase it. Let's see what happens. I think I'm getting some cache there. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, it's a much longer drawn out animation. So the length of the animation has been increased from 1.2 seconds to 10 seconds. I'm not a designer, so don't ask me, you know, what the optimum would be, but I guess you can just kind of use common sense. I think that was way too long, so I think they're mostly set to 1.2 by default, which seems to be a good setting, so I would just leave it there. General settings, where you can set the HTML tag for the pop-up, may be important from an SEO perspective if you want to change it. I'm not sure why it wouldn't be a div. That seems to be the sort of most appropriate tag for it. A div is just like a box. So yeah, but you can change it if you wanted to. Okay, I think that's everything that's important so far on the settings for this pop-up. Let's go through style. So this is sort of stuff that can be applied to building your own pop-ups or using the templates. It's similar sort of stuff. If you've used Elementor, you'll be used to most of the options here, where you can, you know, set background types. You can play with the colors. You can add images. You can add a border, like so. It doesn't look very good though, due to the way this pop-up's designed. We've obviously got, you know, blank space here, and it's got a fixed position on the bottom, but that might be more useful on a more kind of traditional pop-up. We can set up overlays, like an overlay background color. It's probably not going to look good or work on this pop-up. One thing that's important that a lot of people get frustrated with is the close button. You know, like they can't find the close button or how to use the close button. So it's managed within style. Go, you know, settings. So you're in pop-up settings, and then go to style. There's a whole section for the close button. So you never need to be frustrated with the close button again. You can position it inside or outside the pop-up. The close button on this one, I think, has a fixed position due to, you know, the pop-up being fixed to the bottom. But you can change the position of it vertically, horizontally, relative to the pop-up and the page. You can change the color. It's not working on this one. I'll show you on another pop-up. But you can change the color of the close button, the background color of the close button, size of the close button. So the size is working. Maybe the background color will work, yeah. So there you go. Like so. And then finally we've got an advanced tab here in pop-up settings. Again with a load of settings that people might be looking for or wanting to know how to do certain things. So looks like important stuff. So show close button after seconds. So let's try that. Let's say 5 seconds. So if I reload the page, I won't see the close button for 5 seconds if everything works as it should. Yeah. 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we didn't see the close button for 5 seconds, which could annoy people greatly if they can't immediately click off the pop-up, or it could maybe boost conversions. So something for you to try, I guess, if you're a marketer, or you know, maybe you want to try that out. Automatically close after a certain amount of seconds. That's probably really useful for if you want to display like a notification or an important message to users on your website. You may want to display a message saying, you know, we're closed for this holiday, or we're closed for this period, and for it to just close on its own after a few seconds. I don't know, that might be up to you. Let's set that to 10 seconds. That's quite a lot. Let's just say 5. Three, 4, 5, and the pop-up's gone. So let's just try that close animation that we talked about, exit animation, and see if that applies there. So got zoom in when it appears. What is it? Zoom in, zoom out, zoom out right. Let's say zoom in from the left and zoom out to the right. That would be pretty cool. So it should now zoom out when it closes automatically. Oh, it kind of zoomed somewhere and went out. Let's just try zoom in and zoom out and see if it has any difference. Just holding control and pressing refresh to remove that cache. Something's getting cached there. That's pretty cool, I think. Yeah, I mean, that works for me. So it zooms in, it zooms out. The animation duration is the same. So prevent closing on overlay, prevent closing on escape key. I mean, stuff like this will probably really annoy people on your website if you prevent them closing it with the close key. I know that would annoy me if I couldn't close the pop-up. So did we apply that? Let's turn off automatic close. See if that's working. Might not be working due to cache, so I'm making loads of changes, but so I don't think that's working as intended right now. But prevent escape key. That's just me being silly. Let me press escape. So that's probably more appropriate for when you have a pop-up that's taking up 80% of the screen. So not letting the user just press escape. You know, again, I'd be a bit wary of making it hard to close your pop-ups for people, because probably really annoy them. But yeah, that's up to you, I guess. Prevent closing, or turn that off. Disable page scrolling. So that will give you the effect. I'll just set this to the middle of the screen to give you more of the sort of effect. So that's when you can't, you know, scroll. So the pop-up is fixed on the screen. You can't move your screen anywhere else. You're forced to look at the pop-up. So I can't scroll now. So the scroll bar's gone from the side of the screen. If I turn it off, I wonder if the scroll bar comes back. Yeah, so you see scroll bar, I can scroll up and down. The pop-up's still fixed, but I can scroll around, you know, up and down from it. You know, that could be effective if used in the right way. Avoid multiple pop-ups. So if the user has seen another page on the pop-up, hide this pop-up. Probably really useful functionality for if you're juggling lots of pop-ups or if you have lots of things going on, or pop-ups that apply in certain sections of the website but not others. And then finally, you've got stuff like your margin, padding, applying CSS classes, or applying any custom CSS. So that's a really quick overview of the pop-up settings tabs within Elementor. Now, I'm mindful of this video getting too long because I think it's already 20 minutes, so I'm going to move off this pop-up. I'm going to open up one. No, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start going through some commonly asked questions on this pop-up, because we've got a form and that'll be really useful. So first of all, let's just look at this form and we'll go through how forms work in pop-ups. So I've got a YouTube video on forms that you can look at. So I don't want to spend too long telling you how forms work. So if you want to know how forms work in Elementor, go to my YouTube channel, go and look at how to build a WordPress form the easy way with Elementor. There's another really long video, not really long, but it's a substantial video there where I go into a lot of detail about how forms work. So you can pick all that up there. One thing that I see people commonly asking on some comments on YouTube is how to capture form submissions from pop-ups, and that's now easy to do. Elementor have added that functionality in recently, and it's handled here in actions after submit. By default, I think it's now added to every form. So collect submissions is added by default to each form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a page to display this on just quickly. Pages, pop-up. I think I've already got another page form displaying there. squareinternet.co pop-ups. Right, so I want to show you how collecting form submissions works. So type in an email, click send, and now within Elementor you want to know how you view these submissions. I'll show you how you do that. So go to the dashboard, go to Elementor, go to submissions. So this is literally just processed 3:11 PM, new form. I didn't enter really any details on it, but action completed successfully, email, edit, submission. Where's the info? Form fields, item 1, email. Okay, so just had to pause the video there and figure out why that wasn't working, so I didn't do that during the video for you guys. If you're wondering why the screen's a little bit different. And yeah, so I figured out the reason that the submission wasn't coming through. So really simple. On the form, you just need to make sure that the form fields are actually set up. So by default, the pop-up didn't have a ID set. So there's more info on this in the forms video, but in short, make sure that you've got an ID set for the field. So I just typed in email like this, like so. Oh, here, my name for the ID, just called that email. I also gave it a label and a placeholder. I updated the form, cleared the cache, and then if I show you submissions now, the last time I submitted the form came through there, like so. I'll just do it one more time for you to show you it now working, because I know this is something that people always want to know how to do, is to view form submissions, and I just wanted to show you that working correctly in this video. So as you can see, new form submission, it's in Elementor submissions. There we go. And to make it work, just make sure that your form field has a valid ID, and you could also set a label and a placeholder. And then when that's done, when it's submitted, you'll see it here in submissions. So all good. I'm now going to show you conditions and triggers. So I've covered a lot about forms and how pop-ups and how they work. I want to show you how you can control where your pop-ups show. And the way you do this is through display conditions, triggers, and advanced rules. And just so that I'm doing it slowly so you can see how to actually get to this section, from editing your pop-up, there's a little arrow here. Just click on that and you can see display conditions, triggers, and advanced rules. I'm going to click on display conditions. I already set a display condition while I was setting up the video so that this pop-up would only display on one page on my website. I'll just quickly go through display conditions for you. They do kind of what they sound like they do. So they allow you to determine where your pop-ups show. And you use the add condition button like so. There's an include and an exclude filter, and you can start off with entire site, archives, or singular. So singular allows you to select single pages by clicking pages or posts, categories, child categories. Commonly used by setting a pop-up on maybe one page. I'll show you how to do that. So include singular pages, and then you search for the page you want to display it on, like so. Same thing for a post. Search for the name of the post. Like so. And then the pop-up will be displayed there. You can also add conditions for excluding the pop-up showing in a certain place. So if you want to display a pop-up on your entire site, maybe you've got an e-commerce site or a brochure site and you want to have a newsletter sign up, but you don't want to display the pop-up on some certain pages, you can do exactly the same thing with the filter. Just make sure it's set to exclude, and then you can also do it by archives. So you can exclude the main blog post page or blog category pages, search results, author archives. So that's what that's referring to. The post archive is referring to like the main blog page where you're displaying all blog posts. But let's say you want to exclude a singular page. It's exactly the same process. Just search for the page, type it in, and go. Triggers. So this is where to display the template. Triggers are, what actions actually need to be taken for the template to display. So one way of managing your template is, let's just say you want it to display on all blog posts. So display include posts all, like so. So all single blog posts. Another way to do it would be to manage it through triggers, or manage it with triggers as well. So even if you want the pop-up to display on all blog posts, how do you want it to display? So should it be displaying on page load? And if so, within what time frame? Should it be 10 seconds or 20 seconds? So I'll just put it back on my pop-up page quickly, because I'm kind of using that for this video. So triggers, on page load within 5 seconds, yes. Let's just click save and close and see if we can, it should display after 5 seconds now. Maybe cache will stop it for a bit, but it's displaying right away. Let me just clear my cache, see if we can make it display after 5 seconds. Okay, there we go. So 3, 4, 5. Voila, there we go. So the pop-up's now displaying after 5 seconds. So we've just showed you how a trigger works. Where's my pop-up gone? Where's the most recent? Just go back into conditions on this tab. So you can do it on scroll rather than on page load. So on the user scroll, user scrolling down 50% of the page, the pop-up will display. On scroll to element is something that could be really useful, and I'll show you how you do that. So the way that works is if you want to use a ID for a specific element on your page, and so you have a long page and the user reaches a specific part of the page, let's say it's a block of text or it's a video, and you want the pop-up to trigger when the user scrolls to a certain point. So the way you would do that would be through the condition we just looked at, the trigger we just looked at, sorry, on scroll to element. You would just apply a class or an ID to that element and then paste that same class or that element there in the selector box. On click, so the pop-up will trigger on click. This could be used alongside pop-ups that are triggered on stuff like buttons. I'll show you how to do that quickly because that's something that a lot of people ask about as well. I've seen in comments that could be really useful. So I'll show you how to trigger the pop-up on a button click. Because that's really easy to do. So I'm just going to add a button. So to trigger the pop-up on a button click, you do it through the link option on the button. If you click on link options, click on dynamic tags and scroll down, we have actions pop-up. So you then need to click again where it says pop-up, action open pop-up, and then select the pop-up from the list of pop-ups. So I've only got one pop-up active at the moment, I think, on my website, but I'll show you how to trigger it. So now if I click, the pop-up's going to trigger like so. Really easy. And I'll just close that for now and go back to triggers. So after inactivity, after the user's been inactive for a certain amount of time on the website, and then on page exit intent is also very popular, so when the user goes to exit the page. Finally, we've got advanced rules, so requirements that have to be met for the pop-up to open. You can use these alongside conditions and triggers, and we have things like show after X amount of page views, show up to a certain amount of times. So you might not want to bombard people on your website by showing the pop-up over and over and over again. You might want to say show a maximum amount of 3 times, and we're counting that on opens, or you can change it to on closes. You can show pop-ups to people when they're arriving from a specific URL, so useful for marketing campaigns, paid traffic, stuff like that. So if the user's coming from, I don't know, youtube.com, show them a specific pop-up. When arriving from, so we've got more broad filters here, so search engines, external links, internal links. So those are the 3 options. So you can have pop-ups tailored to people arriving from search engines, people arriving from external links, or people arriving from internal links. So, you linking within your own website as opposed to links coming from external websites. You can hide it for people that are logged in, and you can also determine whether the pop-up displays on certain devices, so desktop, tablet and mobile. If I click that, then this pop-up won't display on tablet. So those are the 3 options there. And you can even do it, by browser. So haven't played around too much with this filter, but it's got the 5 main browsers there. You may not want to display it on Internet Explorer for some particular reason, or Edge. I don't know what the thinking is there, but I'm sure there are, use cases for that with more complex marketing campaigns. So, that's how you determine where the pop-up shows, the triggers that are needed to activate it, and the requirements that have to be met for the pop-up to open. One other thing I want to show you quickly that I've seen in some YouTube comments that I figured I could maybe help show people how to do was how to trigger how to make it so that the pop-up closes after a user submits it, and I'll show you how to do that now. So we've got a form here, so this is the action. So how do you make it so that once the user submits the form, the pop-up closes? I'll show you how to do that now. It's managed in actions after submit. Let me just find the correct tab. Okay, I remember where it is actually. So within the form, actions after submit, you want to click, you want to open up the drop down list to add a new action after submit, and you want to look for pop-up and click pop-up, and a new tab will appear here to let you manage this action. You want to click on that action. In the drop down, just click close pop-up. There's also an option to not show the pop-up again. So I'm going to update the pop-up now. I'm going to clear my cache quickly, and then I'm going to open up a new incognito window, load the pop-up, and then now when I submit the pop-up, if the cache is cleared and everything's working, it should close the pop-up when I submit the form. Give it a second. I think the pop-up was set to display on a delay. Maybe I've turned off the display condition. Singular display on page load. Just reactivate the pop-up a minute because I turned off the display conditions. Just want to show you the pop-up closing after submission. We have to flush that cache again real quick. Oh no, it was displaying, I was just being hasty. Okay, there we go, pop-up's displaying again, good. Now you should close after I submit the form. Voila, so there you go, that's how you can close the pop-up automatically on submission. It's in actions after submit, and it's managed within the form rather than the pop-up. The one final thing that I want to show you that I've seen in a few other comments was how do you re-edit settings or re-edit your pop-up after you create and publish it. So let's say you've published the pop-up, how do you then find the pop-up and re-edit settings and change it? So it's actually really simple to do. So come into the WordPress dashboard, hover over templates, click on pop-ups. This is the pop-up that we've just created, and you just want to click edit with Elementor. And it will take you back to exactly the same screen you had when you created the pop-up. And then remember to edit the overall global pop-up settings. You click on this cog for settings, and you'll see this will say pop-up settings. And to edit stuff like the actual form, just click into the element form. And finally, one more time, how to edit or re-edit the conditions. Just click on that little arrow there, and then go to display conditions, triggers, or advanced rules. So I appreciate that was quite a long video, but I was trying to get through as much as possible and show you as much as possible about how pop-ups work. I might do some more specific videos on pop-ups where I'll show you how to make a specific type of pop-up. Maybe I'll show how to set up one for e-commerce, one for a brochure website. But I do hope that you found the video useful. If you did, please make sure you subscribe for future videos, because I'm always making new WordPress videos. I'll be open to hearing some requests as well. If you've got any stuff you want to see YouTube videos on, let me know. If I can, then I'll create something to help you out. Thanks as always for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next video.